Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, and I am Watsanai. So this is a platform which is specifically created for our farming community and the various stakeholders that fall under the Ministry of Agriculture as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030 as a country. Now, at this point in time, I am joined by Mr. Rwanza. He is the Sales and Distribution Manager, Country Feeds here in Zimbabwe. Mr. Rwanza, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Waza. Welcome, viewers.
As we get into our discussion, Mr. Rwanza, can you maybe give us your sentiments as an organization in terms of the food transformation systems? We are talking of becoming an upper middle class economy by year 2030, and one way we can do that is ensuring that every household is food secure.
Thank you for that, Wazanai. Let me start by saying Silo Food Industries was created by government specifically to cater for the needs of the population. It is heavily involved in value addition of our major crops in this country to make sure that every household is food secure. Mealie meal being one of the products that we supply nationwide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you look at the food value chain, it emanates from production, then we move to processing, distribution, then consumption. A brief synopsis of those stages, given that you are in the industry.
We deliberately support local agriculture. We receive our raw materials mainly from the Grain Marketing Board. So our farmers, after their production and harvesting, they deliver to the Grain Marketing Board. We then procure our raw materials. Maize, for example, we buy from the Grain Marketing Board specifically to produce mealie meal. We also get soybeans. We also get some other inputs like sunflower cake for our stockfish division. So basically, after production, we also make sure our products are distributed nationwide.
Okay.
So we avail our products to the market, to the general public through retailers and wholesalers, so that everyone has access, especially to the 7 basic commodities. We are heavily involved in that.
Okay, can you outline the 7 basic commodities?
We are talking of your mealie meal. We are talking of your sugar. We are talking of your cooking oil. We are talking of those salt. Yeah. So rice is one of them. So those products that every household naturally has to have at household level.
Okay, thank you so much. When you look at Vision 2030 agenda, if you look at Sustainable Development number 12, goal number 12, it speaks of responsible production and sustainable consumption. Now we are talking of issues surrounding, in our economy, we have issues surrounding import substitution, export growth, food security. As an industry, how are you working towards achieving that or contributing to such issues?
We deliberately use locally manufactured raw materials. We want to do that so that we support our local farmers. We try by all means to make use of the locally produced raw materials in our productions. For the environment, we take care of our environment in the way we manufacture and in the way we dispose of any waste, if there could be any. So we deliberately get involved in policies that make sure that our environment is protected, that make sure that our local farmers are supported. I might just add our recent product,
okay,
which is a homegrown, wholly Zimbabwean product, manufactured and packed in Mtare.
Okay.
So we are definitely supporting our
Export
local farmers.
growth.
That coffee is destined for export.
Okay.
It's one of the best things that is going to happen in the market. Just watch out for it. We've started introducing it in the market. Very soon it will be taking over everything.
Okay. We cannot talk of food and nutrition leaving out the protein component. You are also into the manufacturing of stock feed. How is the value chain looking like at the moment? Where do you get your raw materials? Are they enough to ensure that you manufacture stock feed for the entire nation? We have piggery, we have poultry, we have cattle ranching, pen fattening. Is it adequate to for our farming community?
We have a stock feeds division. We call ourselves the experts in animal nutrition. We believe we are the best. So what we do there, we make use of raw materials grown in the country. We also make use of what some might call byproducts, the wheat brands, the maize brands. When the millers do their milling, we get those and use. But for specifically what we have said, in some instances, some raw materials might not be adequate, might not be enough. But what we are promising our farmers, we are saying we are there to absorb whatever we are growing in this country. So our farmers must be encouraged to do the best they can, because we are ready to take the raw materials, your soya beans, which will give us also the soya meal, the maize, the sunflower. We use those in stock feeds. So the more they grow them, the more we absorb them, the better for the nation.
Okay, as we round off, I understand that the value chain emanates either from research or production, and production is done by our local farmers, our Zimbabwean farmers. Your word of advice to our local farmers in terms of production, productivity, and having the capacity to produce quality raw material goods that you will use when it comes to manufacturing foodstuffs for our nation.
We want to minimize at all costs to import.
Okay.
We want to use homegrown raw materials. So we are saying to our farmers, the market is there. We are ready to absorb what they produce.
Okay.
So we are encouraging them to maximize on the land use, because the market is there.
Okay.
We need the maize, we need the soya beans, we need the sunflower cake, we need the cotton seed. We need all those things. So we are encouraging our farmers to participate in agriculture, make sure they utilize the land so that we also get the raw materials locally. We want to save every dollar. We don't want to import anything. So if our farmers can assist us by then growing these crops locally, the better for us.
Thank you so much, Say. It was very detailed. There you had it, viewers. He was encouraging our farmers to be able to produce quality products that will be able to sustain our country and even cater for the export markets that are looming. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers, to the second segment of your program. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with me, the producer, Wazanai Manyoro, on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wazanai. Leave your comments and suggestions on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wazanai. We are also now available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Now, earlier on, before we went to the break, we were talking of food transformational systems. And at this point in time, I'm joined by Munyarazi. He is with the Agricultural Marketing Authority. Munyarazi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wazanai, for visiting our stand.
Yes, I want us to talk about your mandates in the agricultural industry.
All right, thank you for the question. So the Agricultural Marketing Authority is a statutory body established under the Act of Parliament, CAP 1824, and is under the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Fisheries and Rural Resettlement. So as an statutory body, our functions or our mandate comes from an Act of Parliament. The major mandate that we have is to regulate production, processing and marketing of all agricultural products in Zimbabwe, with the exception of tobacco. So you see that we are in the entire value chain. Not just focusing on one aspect, but our mandate goes just beyond regulation. We are also in charge of promoting the growing of strategic crops in Zimbabwe. We are also in charge of promoting the fair and efficient administration of markets in Zimbabwe. We are also in charge of promoting the fair pricing of agricultural products in Zimbabwe, so that farmers get good returns for their produce. And one of the things that we're in charge of, that we've been heavily involved in is playing a financial facilitation role. As AMA, we're in charge of raising what are called the agro bills. We issue these agro bills to the market so that we raise monies for the purchase of grain. As you are aware, with such a bumper harvest, farmers will need to be paid on time.
Okay, now let us talk about your rebranding exercise. I understand that you've recently rebranded. What inspired the rebranding exercise and what does it look like at the moment?
All right, thank you for the question. So the authority underwent a restructuring exercise starting in June last year, which began with the appointment of Mr. Clever Isaiah, our CEO. So consistent to that restructuring exercise, we also had to rebrand. But I'll come back to the issue of rebranding a little bit later on and go much more on the restructuring. The restructuring was inspired by the need to contribute effectively to the attainment of Vision 2030. So we had to prime ourselves so that we effectively contribute to the attainment of the vision of the nation. So as part of the restructuring exercise, we had to change our new icons as well. We are saying the new AMA is now primed to contribute effectively as a robust regulator, as an honest arbiter in the event where there are disputes in the agricultural sector. But over and above, we are now primed to capacitate farmers through targeted training programs, raising of resources so that agricultural development takes place, and we also have become a partner for development in the agricultural sector.
Okay, thank you so much. At this point in time, I am going to invite your colleague to take us through the next question. Now, at this point in time, I am joined by Gerald Mashiri. He is with the Agricultural Marketing Authority as well. Mr. Mashiri, how has been the response been like from our general public, especially the farming community, when it comes to the Agricultural Marketing Authority exhibiting here at the Zimbabwe Agricultural Show?
Thank you, Azanai. We have had quite an overwhelming response from the farming community that have visited our stand. A lot of questions have been asked pertaining to the dissemination of timely dissemination of market information, the need to have organized markets in the agricultural sector to reduce post-harvest losses.
Okay.
We have also received quite a number of inquiries on the production of industrial hemp, which is a new crop that we legalized in 2020 here in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much, Gerald. As we round off this segment, maybe can you tell us some of the initiatives that you as an organization are embarking on to ensure that Vision 2030 becomes a reality?
Okay, we are doing quite a lot to ensure that the goals of the National Development Strategy are realized. Part of our work that we are doing is to promote contract farming. We are inviting contractors, manufacturers to secure 40% of their raw materials through contract farming.
Okay, thank you so much, Gerard. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
You're welcome, Adana.
There you heard it, viewers. We have come to the end of the second segment. Join us again in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers, to the third and final segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. And at this point in time, I have taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Tawanda Mangisi. He is the head of Synergy Agro-Business Zimbabwe. Tawanda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadza. It's a pleasure always to be here.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, Tawanda, we are headed towards the 2021 cropping season. It is beginning. What do you expect of farmers or the activities that they need to be engaging in to ensure profitability?
Well, Wadza, there are quite a number of things that farmers must pay attention to. I'm hoping that some of the things that I will highlight, farmers have already done those things. Our farmers to have already had their soils tested and analyzed so that they would know exactly what sort of nutrients to give to their main summer crops. Obviously, even if you are going to be doing tobacco, you would have had done these things already. If you're doing maize, we expect you already to have done these things so that you have got a proper fertilizer regime. That's the first thing. Again, we expect farmers to take care of their implements. You know, these are the things that they use to prepare the lands. So if you own tractors, disc harrows, you name it, you must make sure they are maintained and repaired. If you don't, you must obviously have a contract in place to outsource that. Very important to plan ahead, because if you don't plan, it means that you're going to fail. Again, we expect farmers to have already put in place financing mechanisms. Whether they are financing on their own or they're expecting financing from elsewhere, they must already be putting those things into place so that they get their inputs in time. And when I talk of inputs in time, we are talking of making the decisions as well regards the hybrids, varieties that you're going to plant. If it's tobacco, what is the variety you're going to plant? If it's maize, soybeans, what are the amounts of fertilizer you need? Herbicides, crop protection, very, very important to have all those things in place well ahead. So these are some of the tips, not exhaustive, but very important for farmers to already start to think about and start to engage in.
Thank you so much, Tawanda. Planning is very imperative when it comes to taking agriculture as a business. Now we are expecting normal to above normal rainfalls this season. And can we talk about maybe sustainable crop protection techniques that a farmer needs to employ and put in place to ensure that their farming venture is profitable?
Yes, it's interesting that, we're giving a second season, which is a wet season. A wet season always brings with it, the joys, but also it brings with it some complexities in terms of, weeds, in terms of diseases. Obviously, we always have insects that then harbor in those weeds. So what we implore farmers, let me zero in on maybe two main crops, which is your tobacco export crop, big foreign currency earner. And we encourage farmers in a season where we expect it to be wet. They've got to understand that you need to manage the spots.
Okay.
You need to manage, the leaf quality.
Yes.
And this means that you must prepare right from the seedbed. I know that the irrigated crop is already, already in the lands, and we expect farmers to use the relevant chemicals, which are important to boost the immunity of that tobacco crop, to make sure that they mitigate against, diseases like wildfire, frog eye, as well as the other fungal diseases that are prevalent in a wet season like this one.
Yes.
If you are going to be doing your maize, which is, a food security crop, obviously we want the higher yields. It's said that with the amount of chemicals available on the market, the technology that's available in Zimbabwe, the number of agronomists available in Zimbabwe, we still find that farmers register one ton per hectare, 1.2 tons per hectare. And the main reason, one of the reasons, is poor weed management. So we are saying farmers at this point in time must know exactly what chemicals they want to use, whether it's pre-planting, whether it's pre-emergence or post-planting. They must already have identified, they have their herbicide mix in place, so that when the time comes, they apply the herbicides on time.
Yes.
Timing is also very key when you do these operations.
Thank you so much. Being timeous when it comes to your operations in agriculture. As we round off this segment, I wonder, what are some of the strategic synergies and collaborations that a Zimbabwean farmer can take advantage of to ensure that his venture is profitable, is sustainable, he's being productive, he's producing properly, so that he can take care of his family, repay their debts, take care of their farm workers, the wage bill? What are some of those synergies and collaborations that are strategic?
Let me go a little bit religious and say that the Bible actually says that my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
True.
So you find that a lot of farmers shy away from knowledge. If you go back into the history of this country and why former farmers used to be very successful, it was because of cross-pollination of ideas, research, being friends with information. So what I'm saying is that in Zimbabwe we are very blessed. We've got a very solid network of extension workers. They've been resourced by the government, and we are saying to all the small-scale farmers, communal farmers, they must make sure that they've got a good, solid relationship with their extension worker. Talk of the other bigger, more sophisticated farmers, we are saying again, bank or rather use those collaborations with companies, agronomists. Yes. From companies, technical people. They should be, at your beck and call. Pick up the phone, call them. Yeah, we can use Google at times, but
Yes.
it's always good to sit down over a cup of coffee or a beer if you're a beer person and discuss these things, you know, and ask about the chemicals, ask about the populations, ask about the diseases, ask about, you know, what must I do, so that at the end of the day, after 4 months, after 5 months, you can look back and smile, and you can walk, you know, to the bank and be a very happy man, a very happy woman, because you would have broken the bank balance.
Tawanda, I wanted to talk about accessibility to inputs. We are headed towards a season where we are going to be producing. Most of our farmers might want to look at their sources of capital so that they are able to produce. The sources of inputs.
Well, this is a very important question, and I think the only way to answer it is to say that farmers must make use of you know, the available schemes. There are quite a number of them. I'm aware that you know, we have the CBZ Agri-Yield program. There are quite a number of other contract programs available, and farmers must not shy away from those. If we are going to achieve food security, we need our farmers to go in there, utilize those programs, and make sure that they produce and pay back. This is important for, you know, sustainability. We are talking of synergies for growth. So it's a synergy between the farmer, the government, CBZ, and we need that synergy to work. Again, there's the presidential input scheme, thanks to our president for, you know, his benevolence, and we are saying farmers must take up that seed, you know, do the Pumvudza program. The whole idea, Wadza, is to achieve food self-sufficiency, food security. And my encouragement, you know, is to say, let farmers use those things. Well, if you are able to finance on your own, there are so many distributors, you know, Farm and City Center, there are a lot of them, agribusiness shops. And farmers should go in there. I know that a lot of the products, listening into the different various experts talking yesterday in the agricultural conference, we were told that there's enough seed, enough chemicals, and so there's no reason why we should not be able to access those inputs and be able to ramp up our productivity.
Thank you so much, Tawanda. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure also.
There you heard it, viewers. Mr. Tawanda Mangisi is an expert in the crop protection industry. From me, Wadzanai Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes, have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.